Hey Alex.
Hello, hi, Michael. Hello, everybody. Good morning,
Hello.
good
Hello
evening,
everyone.
good afternoon, wherever you are, and
Yeah, welcome.
welcome.
Yeah.
Um, have you watched the musical?
Yeah, I was actually really lucky when I visited the Neo4j office in San Francisco in 2019.
Hmm.
There was Hamilton playing locally in San Francisco, so they had like a separate performance, not just a New York one, but also one in San Francisco. And I
Yeah.
got the last seat, like a fold-out seat in a corner somewhere, and it was amazing to see it in person. And I was really lucky to be there. And actually, I have even a picture of me in front of the theater as well, so I'll
Oh,
show
cool.
it later
Yeah.
as well. And it was really amazing. And ever since, so we also watched it at home. We even got a canvas to watch it with the projector when it came out
Oh, yeah.
on Disney Plus, and I've been running it on loop basically in the background as
Oh,
one of my
big
go-to
fan.
musics for reading or just walking or running or something like that. So
I
it's
see.
really
Okay.
lots of energy and good lyrics, and so it's lots of fun. Even my
That's good.
girls love it and listen to the songs as well.
This and Frozen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they are now teenagers, so Frozen is a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
out of the picture. But for sure, we still sing it sometimes together as well. So that's also good thing.
I actually never watched it. I now that you mention it, I remember that it is on Disney Plus. So
Yeah,
I kind of
you
have
should
it on my watch list, but I always,
do it. It's
for
really
whatever
amazing.
reason, I forget. Yeah.
Invite some friends or do a like remote watch party together or something like that. Like these kind of swing start parties
Yeah.
where you can watch with some folks together. And it's definitely worth it. It's an amazing experience. I hope at some point that I'll get to see it in New York, but I'm not sure if that will happen.
Who knows? Hopefully,
But
I mean, at some point, all this whatever is happening at the moment has to
yeah,
be over, and then yeah,
exactly.
it surely should be possible to do that again.
Yeah, cool. So
Cool.
let's get right started. I would say I'll share my screen and
Sure, you
then
okay? I just wanted to say, do you want to share your screen, or shall I share this? Is it this trailer? Do
you
we want
can
to
share
play?
the trailer and then
All right,
I'll.
you exactly. You get ready, and I get the trailer set up. So let me.
I hope that the audio sharing comes through on
Well, we'll see how that
on the
goes, but
trailer as
let's
well.
let's play that. And for everybody who does not know what's Hamilton, I think this 1 minute
Yeah,
should give
a
us
good one.
a good overview.
Yeah. Right now I can't hear any audio. I'm not sure, Alex, if that's
Oh, you cannot hear audio?
no.
Okay, let's see if I can. If I need to change something, but I guess
Otherwise, you can also drop the link into the chat as well.
I can drop the link into the chat. Yeah, it looks like audio is not pulled through from screen sharing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, you have to put it on speakers and then take it
Then
from there.
well, then I create a crazy echo. Um, so okay, well then we can talk over it then, I guess. So sorry that you can't hear it, but I'll put the trailer in chat. But this is the musical, and then Michael, maybe you can get your screen set up. Perfect. So this is the trailer. I saw you posted it in chat already, so that's where you find it. That's where you
Okay, so
can watch it. Or if you have a running subscription to Disney Plus, I guess, then you can
yeah,
go
I
there.
definitely recommend it.
Yep.
Okay, so let me share the screen really quick. This one. Um, cool. Super. So, and actually, if you want to see that, so this is me in front of the theater in San Francisco. That was pretty cool. And actually, something really cool I came across a while ago is by Shirley Wu. She's an amazing visual artist, so she does a lot of amazing art with data, actually. So she's a data visualization expert and artist, and she did in 2017, actually, and visualization of every line of Hamilton. So she took all the lyrics, assigned who sings the lyrics, which groups, and what is the content of the lyrics, which themes do they have, what words are in there, and whom are they directed at, and all these things. And she put this all together into an amazing visualization. So you see, like, every dot here is a piece of lyrics, and colored by who sings it, and so on. And then it continues with explorations and repeated patterns and things like that. So it's a really amazing visualization.
Super nice.
I'll also drop it into the chat so you can see it for yourself. So there's a lot to explore here. So definitely check it out, and it's an amazing work. And you can sort and filter and search in the data and see graph visualizations and other kinds of visualizations of the lyrics and so on. So it's really, really nice. And also analyzing certain parts of the repeated patterns and so on. So it's really, really nice to play around with. And what's actually also really cool is that Shirley put all the data on GitHub. So we can actually take the data from her visualization, which is here on GitHub in her repository, and we can import this data directly into Aura free. So she already did all the hard work of preparing the text.
How nice of her.
Setting up. Yeah, she's amazing. She also has a really nice book. So just a quick plug. It's called Data Sketches, I guess, and it's a really cool book about data visualization. If you want to have a look, so it's really good. Anyway, so she put together all this data here in 2017, and so we have data on all the aspects of the musical. So we have the characters, we have the songs, we have the parts of the song, so kind of parts of the lyrics which one character or one group sings. We have all the words in the text. We have themes like satisfaction, dissatisfaction, death, and things like that as well. And then breakdown. And she really breaks it down by song and position within the song and stuff like that. So it's really kind of fine-grained data as such. And we can look at the data in detail as well. And so what I always wanted to import this data into Neo4j, but I never got around to it. And over the holidays, one night, late night or so, I got reminded of it, and then I basically said, okay, now I'm going to do it. And then at like 2 or 3 a.m., I was done with it and looking at everything. And I just want to share with you how we did that. So before we go into that, let me just quickly create the Aura database so we have it up and running when we need it. So I just went to Aura databases, create new database. I pick an AuraDB free, name it Hamilton in my case. I pick Belgium as the closest one to myself and create a blank database. And then I just click create database and let create the database in the background, and we come back to this afterwards. Meanwhile, while it's creating the database, it takes 2 to 3 minutes in the background to create the database. But we can look at as actually the data model a little bit. So let's see. So we have Arrows, which is our modeling tool that we've been using all the time. And so this gives us an easy way of modeling the graph. So what's most important? It's kind of the song in the musical, right? So musicals wouldn't be anything without songs. And then, of course, we have the performers or singers, right? So we have a singer, which can be an individual or a group which performs a song. Performs, right? So that's kind of the basic of the musical, right? In her data set, she actually differentiates between individuals and groups. So our singer could be either a group of people, kind of like a chorus or something like that, or an individual, and they perform the song. And then each song consists of a number of lines, and a group of lines sung together by a group are represented in this data as an object called lines. So which is a bunch of like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of a song, and that's lines of a song. So that's our second piece of our data set here, right? So what else do we have? So actually the singers are not actually assigned to the song, but they are assigned to the lines. So yeah. So what you can do is there are actually 3 types of relationships in here between the singer and the lines. So one is basically just the person or the group singing the lines. The second one is they are excluded. So I'm not 100% sure what that means, but they are kind of either probably dead already at this point in the musical, or for what other reason they're excluded from singing the lines. And then the third thing is also interesting, which is basically some lines are directed at a person. So if I sing towards Hamilton or towards Eliza, then I'm directing these lines towards the person as well.
Ah, okay.
All right. So we also see kind of these, whom are they speaking to, which is nice for like conversations or dialogues or things like that. So, right. Okay, so that's one part of the musical. Then the other one is kind of a bit of enrichment, which are these themes and categories of themes. So Shirley kind of extracted themes. And that's lines have a theme. I think it's theme singular. And it's a part of a category. Right, so this could be, we'll see it in the files in a second. And then the last bit is basically words, right? So lines contains word. So like all the words of the songs basically together in these word nodes. So, and of course, if a word is repeatedly contained in different lines, then there are multiple contains relationships as such. That's our data model that we want to import. Basically, the center here is kind of the essence of the musical, and the other ones are enrichments, like the themes and the categories. So that's something that Shirley added to this. And also these kind of directed at is something that's not inherently in the data, but you have to basically pre-process the data. And she also talks about this in her visualization, how she pre-processed the data and so on. So that's really good. So, and with that, we can actually have a look at our database. I just copied the password here, and we now have Hamilton. And you can open it with me through the browser and paste our password here. Connect.
Yeah, remember to copy that password or save it somewhere, because you need it.
Otherwise, you have to destroy the database again, or you have to ask support to do this for you. So, and then this is kind of an empty database, right? So there's nothing in here right now. And I have this GitHub project here with all the details. So you also see the kind of final model here and some verbal description. So I'll also put it into a Medium post, so we have it there as well. So I'll paste this into the chat as well. So if you want to come along, feel free to come along as well. So initially, we already talked a little bit about our entities. So we have singer, we have lines, we have song, we have theme, category, and word. And so we just create a bunch of constraints so that each of those IDs can be quickly found when we want to connect the nodes. And then we additionally add an index on the singer's name and the song titles as well. We can just copy and paste this whole set of commands here and paste it into Neo4j browser, and then execute it, and it will just execute them in one go. So if you click on each of them, then you see also that they are successful and a little bit of more detail. Yeah, cool. That's all now successful. And now in the sidebar, we already see the labels and some of the property keys here, and these are taken from the indexes and constraints as well. So there's still no data in the database. So if I check, then it's still empty. Right? So now it gets interesting. So if you look at Shirley's data, so something that she has here is this song list .json. So if I open this, we see it's basically just a JSON file with IDs as keys and then an array as data. And most of the files that she has are built up this way, so which is a little bit of an uncommon format, but we can make it work within Cypher. It's not impossible. It's a little bit cumbersome, but not too much as such. So what we want to do is basically...
This is basically just the list of songs, and the ID in after the hashtag at the end is just a...
So that's just
unique value.
That's actually a color code.
Color code. I see. Okay.
So she has some of the files are explained, not this one, but it is just a color code.
Okay, makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we are interested in is here basically just the song title, and we can use the color, but we don't need to use.
No, yeah, okay. That was what she used, I guess, for her.
Yeah. Exactly, for a visualization, right? So if you see a song here, then one color is basically one particular song as such. So we basically need to take this JSON file, take the keys here, and then basically provide each key with the data in the second part, and then extract the bits and pieces that we need. Okay, so if you do this, it looks like this. I will look into this in detail here. So I hope you can read this well enough.
Yeah, looks good.
Oh, this is actually, let me, singers, here are the songs. Let's do the songs first. Doesn't matter which order we do this. So this is our song list. That's what we just looked at, right? And then we just get whatever is coming back from this song list. So if I remove the second part and just return value, then we just get the JSON file back. Right, so with the key and then the array with values here, right? So we can load the data from GitHub, which is great. So you need to use the raw URL. So if you use this URL, it doesn't work. You need to go to the raw URL, and then you can use this one to load the data into everything. Okay, and then we take this value, take all the keys. So these IDs. At the front here, we can take these keys, and then we provide each key and the value of this key. So basically, if I just look at this, return key command data, then we get basically a table of key in the first column and then the data array in the second column, such, right? And then what you can do is we just merge the song on the key. So this is our ID for the song. So we get a song and uniquely merge it. So we can also rerun this statement multiple times, and it won't create more songs. It will only create the same amount of songs because merge is get or create. And then we set basically the title of the song as the zeroth element of this array, which is the title, and the color as the first element of the array, as such, and then return the songs. Okay, and this should create now, what is it, 44 songs or something like that? If I run this.
Yeah.
So we now see all our songs
46,
here. 46. And you see all these songs, they all have an ID, this ID, the color and the title. Yeah, this one. Right?
Yep.
Cool. So basically we do the same with the singers, which is this character list here. So we have the again the ID as a key, name of the singer or the character, male, female as the gender. Then we have is this an individual or a group here on the third one. Then there's here an true false thing, which I don't know. I figured out what it is, and then another color here as well. So this true false thing I don't know, and so I just ignore it more or less. So, and if you want to load the singers here, it looks very different, very similar to what we had before for the songs. So all up here, down here, it's basically the same. The only difference is now that we have 2 labels, and the second label is actually coming from our data. So it's kind of dynamically from the data. So we basically just take the default label for everyone is a singer, and then we have individual group. We just take the second data element. So let me just return key comma value so that you see what it looks like. It's key comma data. And so we have the key and then the name, gender, individual, the true, false, and the color. And this individual becomes, or group becomes our second label. So we can pass in 2 labels here in this array. And then we have our ID, the name, the gender, this x-axis was the true, false thing that I don't know what it is, and then the color as such. So if you load this, then we have all our singles now, and we see we have 21 singles, 3 groups, and 18 individuals. Right? So now we have singers and songs in our graph. So if I remove the limit here, so we have singers and songs, but we don't have any connections yet between the two. Right? And this is where the next file comes in, which is a little bit more complicated, which is this lines file. And the lines file even has a description here in the repository, which is a little bit hard to understand. But the key of a line is basically song number colon the line number or lines from to with a dash in between, right? So I have either song 1 line 31st or song 1 lines 1 to 5, right? And then in this area, there's who's the character singing it, who are the characters excluded from singing it, which are the characters that we are directing these lines towards. So what we have here in our model, right? So who sings it, who is excluded, and who are these lines directed at? With the key of the singer, the actual lyrics, so the text lines, and the number of lines. How many lines are there? Right? So if you look at these lines.json, then we see. So it's a little bit hard to read here. So that's why I took a portion out of this. Here, so we have, this is the key. These are it's the key again, basically. And then who sings it, who's excluded from singing it, who's directed it, and these are the actual lines. And then at the end, there's a number. These are 5 lines as such. So it's a little bit complicated, but I've already done all the work of matching that to our graph thing. And on my local database, I could just import all in one go. But when I tried it on Aura, the memory limits need us to make it a little bit or import it a little bit in chunks. So I'll say something about this right now. So our chunking is 2 ways. So one is we have a skip limit here at the beginning where it kind of always imports like 200 lines in one go. And then we also do the actual data creation in chunks of 100 rows as well. So here at the beginning, it's the same what we always do. We take the JSON and take the line and the data from the line. So that's nothing special. What you have to do here is you have to split out the song ID, which is before the colon, and the lines, which is behind the colon, basically. And then the singers, the excluded, the directed, the actual lines text, and the count number of lines. So that's kind of just the content of this array that we just saw here. Up here. So this is kind of what we just extract from this. And then we find our song, we create our entry for the lines with the key here that we got, set the text and the number of lines and the IDs, 1 to 5 or 31 or whatever, so kind of the offset. And then we say, this is a line of this song, this relationship. So basically what we said here, lines of the song This is what we create here. And then for each of these arrays with singers, we do the thing where we say, okay, we go over all of these arrays and say, okay, we want to skip those where there's an empty string in there, because some of those have like empty strings, which we don't have a singer for, of course, right? So this here is an empty string and there's no singer for that, but for this one, we actually have a singer. And so we skip the empty string.
So I mean, I guess this looks into if one is singing this by himself, or if he's singing it with somebody else on stage, or
yeah, so it could be a group singing it, right? So it could be 2 or 3 people singing these lines together, for instance.
Yeah.
Right? So then that's why it's an array, right? So that's why we can have multiple singers in this singers array.
Yeah.
And then we just find the singer and connect the singer to the lines, and also connect the singer to a song as well. And then for the other 2 bits, the excluded and directed, we say the singer is excluded from these lines, or these lines are directed at this person, basically, as well. So we do 3 times the same thing, basically, just with different relationship types. So once we say this person sings these lines, this person is excluded from these lines, or these lines are just directed at this person. So it's basically these 3 relationships that we talked about here in the beginning. That's what we do in this part of the statement. And that's it, basically. And then we do this in chunks of 100 rows. So I have to run this 7 times and increase the skip manually. So we could also have automated this, but I didn't want to run too much. So we run it once, 200 lines, skip 200, another 200 lines, 400, 600, 800, oops, 800, 1000, 1200, and 1400. So we could have automated this with an epoch periodic iterate or commit or something like that, then it would have also worked. But the problem here is that the JSON is pretty big, and so it has to keep the JSON in memory, plus all the strings that we extract from the JSON additional, plus all the other values that we extract from the strings from the JSON, and then also all the graph data that it creates at the same time. So that's why it takes a little bit more memory as such. So because the JSON is multiple times in there in different representations, plus like all the created graph data, that's why we have to do this in Aura3. Because Aura3 has only like 500 megs or so, or 300 megs of memory or something like that, or even less.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. That's another limitation I didn't mention in the intro, but it's a little bit more shrunk down in terms of memory versus the other editions. But we either you work around it or you.
Yeah, or you can also take a larger instance, import the data, create a dump, and then import it into Aura3 again. That's also an option. So now we see we have already 1400 nodes now. So all these lines are now also in there as nodes, and 4000 relationships as well. Right? So we can, for instance, now look at our songs and pick one of the songs and say, okay, for these songs, which lines are in here, and then these lines are directed to King George, for instance, right? And then we can go from here, basically. Or for instance, this song has many more lines that are directed at different people as well. So you see the song has the ID 35 here, right? Here, 35, and then all these lines are starting with 35 colon, and then 1 to 4, 5 to something, and 6, 7, 8. So these are all different lines, basically, as such. And each of those lines are then sung by another person or group, as such. And so here, for instance, we see these lines are directed at Alexander Hamilton, sung by James Madison, right? And so that's kind of what we get in terms of like data in here.
You saw there that King George never sings in this song, but he is a target of the Oid
it's
Hour.
another song.
Well, he does sing in the song. I didn't see that in the other direction. But
no, it's the other song.
it's the other song. Oh, that was missed in there. Okay, never mind then.
But for instance, Aaron Burr, we can now look at basically where does Aaron Burr sing in the song, right? So, and then we could kind of expand this. But he also sings in a lot of songs. So we see pretty quickly that he's a very active character, right? So you see that he has a lot of lines in the in this one here as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but she should actually be connected to one of these lines here. That's weird. Interesting. Anyway, so I had one example query that we can now use on this data. So for instance, we can say, who sings which songs, right? So that's kind of a basic information of our musical, right? So we can just run this. We basically say, we find a singer which sings a song, which sings lines of a song. And then we return the singer's ID, the song's ID, the song title, and all the singers as such. And if you do this, then we see here all the songs in order, basically. So we had to order them by 2 integer of the ID, because otherwise we get in lexical ordering, so 1, 11, and then 12 and so on, instead of 1, 2, 3. Right? So we had to do 2 integer for the ordering. But we see, okay, Alexander Hamilton, the starting song, is sung by a lot of people. And then Aaron Burr is, of course, Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton, Mulligan, and Lafayette, and so on, right? So, and then you see the different, You'll Be Back, it's only King George and the whole company, so the group, and so on, right? So, and so we see the different songs in the data set with all the lines, what they sing. The other thing that's in here is the words of the data, of all the lyrics. So we can also load them again in chunks of 500 rows here. So if I do this.
So this is the text, what's been sung?
Yeah, that's basically, we already have the text, but like basically, if you look at these lines, they have basically an array here with the text, right? But you see, of course, because there are songs and rhymes and lyrics, you have a lot of repetition here. Like wait for it is in here 4 times, for instance, right? And but if you look at the words, there would be only one word with wait, right? So and then if I click on it, it would basically show me all the places where this word occurs in the text, basically.
Okay.
So I can also do like some lingual textual analysis of kind of word frequencies and things like that, right? So for instance, if I want to see which words have been used most frequently, you can just say return the end dot word, comma, size of n contains. So as frequency, order by frequency descending. So we see I, it's more frequent.
Obviously, yes.
I and you, so basically all the pronouns, right? And then all the typical verbs and this, that, articles. And then what's the first word that's not? Time.
Time,
and Hamilton. Hamilton 868 time, right?
Yeah.
Times. Right, so, and away and room. I'll be in the room when it happens. Right, so, and then sir, because that's with Aaron Burr and with Washington, there's a lot of sirs. And shot is also 50 times, so because that's really important. Duels and all the other stuff. I don't want to miss my shot. Okay, so these are the words that we can add in here. Oh, here I have, for instance, an example query that says, show me where the word satisfied is coming up. Right, so if I use this query, I can look at this word, where the word is satisfied, look at the lines which are containing this word and which songs contain this. And then for each song, I return the title of the song, basically this one line that contains it, basically. So from the array of lines, I want to have this index, this one line that contains the word and the word itself. And if I return this, then I see, okay, our word is satisfied. And then this is the song title, and this is basically the line with the
where it appears basically in the song.
Exactly, right. So and so you see that it comes in out quite frequently.
Non-stop is featuring lots of satisfied moments.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And the last thing that Shirley prepared was these kind of themes. So if you look at the theme list.json, we have themes like ambition, relationship, personality, more ambition, contentment, and so on, right? So so these are like again our keys, and then the text lines. No, these are actually the themes, and then this is like a category of the theme, basically. And so we can import basically same way we have the key and the value, and then we create a theme and the category from the second piece of data. And so if I import this, we also get the theme supported. We can say the theme can configure to have the text, and the category here is, for instance, death, and we can see which theme is in here, or for this one we can see which category is this in, personality, for instance, and this is one that has ambition, right? And so then some more have ambition here as well, right? So we see kind of this is our category, and these are themes that are popping up. And then we connect the themes to the text, actually. So there's another file, which is themes.json, which is a little bit complex as well, which has the mapping of the song lines. And this one was a little bit hairy to handle, because it has like, this is kind of the lines, this is the song, and the 27 is basically the line within the lines that has this theme, basically. So that's was a little bit hairy to get out.
Okay.
So you see there's a lot of like split and split again and split again, and then reconcatenate stuff to the lines ID and so on. So that was I had to wrestle a little bit with this one, but that's now done. You don't need to do it anymore. So now we have connected all the themes to lines, and now we could, for instance, for these themes, we could extract these and say, okay, rise up is in all of these lines as such, and then we can say, okay, and these are then connecting to the song here, and then we see basically where do the themes occur. And for a query, for instance, we can see where does the death category, over which themes, over which lines, over which songs is this connected, right? So if I want to see who's all where talking about death in this data, then let me just see. Yeah. So I zoom out a little bit. So we see this is our death category here. This is connected to this one theme, and then these blue ones are all our lines, and these are connected via the songs, or they're connected to the songs and to the people as well, right? So Hamilton thinks a lot about death. George Washington, Eliza when their son dies, and when Hamilton dies, basically, and the whole company sings when Hamilton dies about death. And Aaron Burr also sings about death in the last song where he killed Alexander Hamilton as well. So you see these kind of themes coming through in the musical. such.
So the purple node here in this case is a little bit of an explanation of the theme, right? Where the theme,
it's kind of a phrase for the theme, right? So it's more like an what stands. So this is basically it's actually two sentences, right? So there's one sentence. It's kind of one of the recurring things.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there's so much. It feels more like a memory. And then, are we living too fast? And can we make this moment last? Basically, so these are kind of phrases around the theme of death, basically, right? And these are recurring in different, because it's a musical. They pick up certain lines time and again. And so
okay, I see. Yeah.
And so you have these kind of, for instance, here you see in this. If I go here in these lines of this song, then I see then this comes up here again. And this is actually something that's Shirley mapped manually, basically, because of course always the spelling is not exactly 100% the same, but she basically went through all these lines manually and mapped all this detail manually for her visualization, which is really cool. Because now we can use this to do our own analysis on top of the data.
Yeah.
So and I have a bunch of queries on top of this now for exploration purposes. By the way, if there are any questions, let us know. Happy to explain more in detail about things. Let's just share in the chat.
Put it in chat. Yeah, I'll have a look.
So one thing I wanted to explore, because she has this directed relationship, right? Lines are directed at someone, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to see who's most singing lines that are directed towards Alexander Hamilton. So not where he sings, but who are speaking to him as such, right? So I basically took this statement here, this query, and I just quickly explain this. So we have some singer who sings lines which are directed towards Alexander Hamilton, right? So this lines are directed towards Alexander Hamilton by some singer who sings these lines, right? And then I also say which theme and which category are these lines part of, right? So what is the topic of this kind of conversation or this accusation or whatever it is, right? So, and actually it would be a nice enhancement for the data as well if you had, okay, is this kind of a conversation? Is this a command? Is this an accusation? Is this a romantic love thing? Or
what's the tonality of the...
Yeah, kind of tonality or like the purpose, right? So, and then we return this singer's name, how frequently the singer occurs, and the categories that we see coming up here, right? So which kind of higher level categories are there? So, and we see Eliza sings towards Hamilton with death and legacy, contentment, so when she's frustrated because he cheats on her, but also with ambition, right? So when she says, don't we have enough and don't be so ambitious and let's rather live a good life together. Aaron Burr sings towards Hamilton with relationship, legacy, ambition. So they both kind of are fighting and competing a lot. And he has also a lot of personality, Aaron Burr as well. And similar to Washington, Maria Reynolds is the woman that Alexander Hamilton cheats with. So she sings more about personality relationship topics, right? So. And his son, Philip Hamilton, sings with Michelis, random topics, or generic. Also, death and legacy would also be a good fit for Philip as well. So this is kind of where we can see a little bit more kind of about like the style and the tone and what kind of conversations are here as well. Speaking of conversations, the other thing that I always am interested in, that we also looked at in Game of Thrones and some other data sets, is kind of, or also in like something like Pandora Papers, was who has joint involvement basically with something, right? So where can we see a person-to-person network basically hidden behind this data, right? So we have one person singing something, another person singing someone. So who's jointly singing? So who does duets, for instance, in the data, right? So, and that's basically this joint relationship or this joint involvement that we can see two people watching the same movie, two people investing in the same share company, or two people singing lines together, which is probably the most harmless version of that thing, right? So you have, I just picked Thomas Jefferson, the second president, and then basically who sings with Thomas Jefferson, how frequently, right? So, and look at this data, for instance. So we have James Madison, who was part of the Jefferson gang, Aaron Burr, who competed with Jefferson in an election, and then, of course, Alexander Hamilton, who was the finance minister when Jefferson was the minister of state. So foreign affairs, and George Washington also a little bit, right? So that's kind of, and if you change this and say, for instance, who has sung with Eliza? So I hope I didn't misspell her name. So her sister Angelica, the company, her other sister Peggy, and actually it's really interesting that the same lines. So kind of jointly, Hamilton and Eliza never had kind of singing something together as such, right? So they only sang at each other, but not like jointly.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of joint singing, right? So
yeah.
Which is kind of interesting as such. And then the other one that I had is here, who sings with Washington, and how can we visualize this, right? So George Washington. And basically the same query, but instead of returning the counts here, we actually return the graph visualization of that. So we have here George Washington in the middle, and these lines, and then who sings with Washington in these lines, basically, right? So it's kind of the second degree network of Washington, or the first degree network actually, right? So because he sings with these people, basically as such, right? So they share lines that they sing together. Right, so that's kind of it's the first degree network actually, right? So it's basically like co-actors in the same movie, could say so, right? So it's kind of the co-singers in the same.
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to say, yeah.
So data is really interesting. So we haven't gone deeply. So you could do more word analysis, for instance, in terms of language and things like that. You could also correlate themes to words, for instance. So for instance, what you could try to do is to say, I just need to look at the time, that we're not exceeding time too much. So if you look at words, and then we say certain lines have words, and these lines also have themes. No, this is contains words. And has a theme which is part of a category. So we can actually see how frequently which words are in which category, for instance, right? So are there certain words which are more describing for certain categories? So this is the overall thing. So for instance, okay, it be and so on, it's probably not so interesting. So what you can say is where size of W word is greater than 4 or something like that. So this also fits right enough with contentment. Wood with contentment is interesting, but satisfied with contentment, right? So, and what do we have? Happened with ambition, throwing. I'm not throwing away my shot. Is this enough with legacy? Also fits story with legacy. So we see also kind of this verbal correlation of text with themes as well, right? Which is kind of really interesting. And so that's another thing that you can do. So there's much more in there, right? So you could also look at the timeline of the songs, who's appearing in which timeline, in which order. When do people appear, disappear in the story? Right. So for instance, you have people. I mean, what would also be interesting is to kind of see the artists that kind of play the different people, because there's some people who play multiple characters basically as well. And so, for instance, Peggy disappears after song number 4 or 5, for instance, or well, John Lawrence also disappears after the war because he's killed in the war, for instance, right? And or Philip, the son of Alexander Hamilton, disappears after he's killed in the duel as well, right? And you can also look at who's there throughout the whole musical and who's kind of has only like a limited time span, or like King George only pops up around the war and then is also gone at the end. Oh no, there's actually a song when Adams becomes president. Then King George also kind of makes fun of the Americans as well. John Adams. So it's really interesting to see. That would be another interesting thing to see. Kind of what is the timeline of the different.
The timeline,
people,
yeah.
And then you could actually imagine like the visualization that Shirley built here to actually be backed by the graph database, because then you can just query the database for all these kind of information and then get it back from the database instead of just having this static JSON files basically that are handled in memory as such, right? So and then there are many more options that could be done as well. And for instance, here the sorting and filtering. It could all be done then with the database as well, and this kind of visualization, who's singing what with whom as well. Right? Exactly. So, of course, I didn't save the password, so I can't show you actually the thing in Bloom, because I just pasted it into the browser. So...
Yeah, I didn't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, can't you spell it out for me? It's probably in the recording somewhere. But you can also visualize this kind of data then in Neo4j Bloom, where you then can do really nice interactive or textual queries on top of the data as well. Right. So that's probably something that we can put into the Medium article.
Yeah.
Then as an example. So. Cool, and that's, I think, what I wanted to show. And if you haven't seen the musical and you have the opportunity to do so, please have a look, at least online, if you see it. There are also some people who uploaded the content to YouTube as well. So for those of you that still want to see it, I don't know why it's still on YouTube, why Disney hasn't removed it from YouTube, but perhaps it's enough promotion for them also. I don't know.
But maybe there's an official, hopefully it's an official channel of some.
Yeah, when I was looking for the trailer, I saw actually that some people had uploaded the songs but probably just the lyrics and not the recording.
Yeah, maybe the songs are online.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a while to watch it. It's an amazing piece of art, and Lin-Manuel Miranda did a really great job there. And for those of you that are fans of Hamilton, I can really recommend the books. There's a lot of detail and behind-the-scenes information, and each song is kind of explained, and it's really, really good, and it's really well done in terms of production quality as well. So my wife got this book too for Christmas.
Is this the book to the musical?
Yeah, that's the official.
The stage book, sort of, or what's it called?
Yeah, it's kind of like an expensive version of a stage book, right? So it's post-produced, but was also like a stage book back then. But it's really good as well. Sorry for all the promotions.
Well, you're a fan. We had Pokemon last time, so I guess it's this time.
Cool, sounds good. So I hope you all enjoyed this and perhaps also learned a little bit about American history. And so looking forward to your feedback. And if you have anything that you want to see here, don't forget to let us know, either on Twitter or drop us an email or ping us on LinkedIn or whatever. And we're happy to pick up data sets and ideas from other folks as well.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Michael. That was really good and really interesting. So I'll definitely want to watch Hamilton now. So like I said, it's on my list for a while, and kind of I don't know why it's never happened.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds
great.
Then,
thank you all for watching. Have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you, Michael, for showing us around Hamilton. And see you next time.
Take care, everyone.